just because you're the reporter and you're responsible for taking down that record, I mean, if something, I mean, and maybe it's not my job, but I always know when people come in, I always kind of size people up. It's just something that I've always done, so that I know that if something breaks out, what am I going to do? What am I going to be able to do? And and you know, our bailiffs are very qualified. You know, I mean, these guys and both of them are pretty big boys. You know, and I have no doubt that they do keep the peace, and you know, if necessary, I think that they would take a bullet for the judge, you know, if it came down to it. But you have to know, you know, what if you know, one of the dads becomes irate? He's a big guy, the two guys can't handle it, and there's an uncle and a cousin in the back, and they're coming too, you know, and the judge has a duress button there. And he can push that duress button at any time, but I mean, you never know. I mean, it's still going to take those guys seconds. And they have what's called a CERT team, you know, where they send out a signal, and they have something on their little, you know, little walkie-talkies or handheld, you know, whatever, so they can push it, or the judge can push that duress, and people are coming. They don't call, they don't ask, they come running. And you know, whoever's in the way, they're bowling some people over, and we've had it happen, you know, where it kind of got a little handsy. You know, a guy didn't want to get arrested, and he was trying to keep his hands in front or whatever, and the bailiff is trying to get his hands in the back, and he has him, you know, down, and he's trying to, and he's just, I mean, the guy's a pretty strong guy, you know, both of them were, but the dad had, you know, just his hands under the table, so he was having trouble. You know, so I told, you know, and the judge already knew, he hit the duress, and these guys came running, and I mean, it gets bad. I mean, you in the back.
A couple of years ago, I went to the Texas Court Reporters Association annual meeting when it was held up in way up country in the hills up there. And one of the speakers came, and he was a former FBI person and a whole bunch of other stuff, but he taught us some steps that so that you can observe your surroundings. Yeah. And you can be alert. Mm-hmm. And he said, always go into the courtroom with this mindset that anything could break out, because things that you're not thinking about, that's what catches you by surprise. And he used the Columbine case as an example of what people did to defend themselves, and the people who got hurt were people who didn't do the right thing, but
and panicked.
If it's not put in your head to think that way, then you don't. Yeah. And he said, just like you carry your equipment and you wear a certain uniform or tie, you bring that mindset in when you go. You just don't ever relax or take anything for granted. Yeah. And if you look at anything that looks like unusual behavior, that's the time to go into your defense mode. Yeah. And it's, I mean, and I've had it in a deposition, guys, where I was taking a deposition, and the attorneys got heated, and I'm right in the middle, and these guys are coming after one another. And it, I mean, it didn't go to blows, but I mean, you know, they're pointing fingers at each other, and it's getting pretty bad. And, you know, it was a situation that I wasn't ready for. You know, I was a new reporter, and I was just like, do I still stay on the record, or, you know, and I just kept on writing, you know, and you know, unless they tell you to go off the record, really you are supposed to stay, you know, on the record. So, I mean, it was just a situation, but now, you know, I think looking back, I would have handled it maybe a little differently. But you just have to be ready. And that's what they're talking about here, is that you know what to expect from each other. And you always have each other's backs, no matter what, you know, and we do that. We do that there in our court. But I mean, we deal with, you know, a very volatile situation. I mean, when you're dealing with someone's kids, it's pretty volatile, you know, and it can be, you know, so you always expect the unexpected, and always know if something happens, what am I going to do? What can I do, you know, if anything? Okay. Transcript rates for the official court reporters are set clearly in each state statutes
and the reporter may not overcharge for court transcripts. The salary of the court reporter is designed to compensate the hardworking reporter for his or her time, effort, and talent used to produce the accurate transcript. A reporter's salary is usually commensurate with the level of education, training, background, and knowledge that he or she uses in producing the accurate record, okay? And that's true. I mean, especially in my court, because 99% of the attorneys that do work in our court are court appointed. So whenever they want a transcript, I don't just get to, you know, even if they say, you know what, man, I need that hearing, we go to trial on Monday. Well, I mean, you just have to do it. You know, I mean, they expect, you know, if they know that they had a hearing 6 months ago and they're like, hey man, we're going to trial on Monday, and that thing was 4 days. Really? I mean, you probably knew weeks or months in advance, and you know, you should have ordered it then or whatever, and it's like, well, I mean, let me see how long it is, let me see, you know, if it's something that I can do. And attorneys are always going to push the limit, so you have to be careful with that too. They're always going to try to push the limits, and they wait till the last minute to do stuff or whatever. So, you know, if it's something that you can do, fantastic. But, you know, I don't get to charge anymore because the county sets my rate at what I get to charge because they're court appointed. You know, and the rate here in Bexar County is $3.50 a page and $1.16 per copy. So they already set the rate, so I don't get to charge any more than that. You know, now if they're retained attorneys, then you can charge a little bit differently. You know, I think, you know, pretty much the going rate now is just on a regular turnaround is like $5.50 or $6 a page now. You know, for most stuff. And then if they wanted like super quick and it was 200 pages and you know that you're going to be working that weekend, that page rate goes up because they waited till the last minute or whatever. They just want it super quick, or it's something that you know you're going to have to work, you know, day and night trying to get this thing out, and the weekend trying to get this thing out. So now your weekend's blown or whatever. But
so
I mean,
how do they know if they're, who says that whether you're overcharging them or not? Like, how is that determined?
I'd get with a reporter. I mean, and most of them, I mean, it's kind of an understood rule, you know, of what we can charge. You know, and a lot of the reporters know, you know, for regular turnaround, this is what we charge, and for, you know, like a rush job, this is what we charge, and for like a daily rate, you know, when they want it, you know, you're taking it right then, and they want it by that evening, that price goes up too. And it's handsomely, you know, so it's pretty good. But I mean, you work for that money. You got a question?
For the court appointed ones, are you allowed to charge a rush fee, or is it just the same?
No, it's just the same. Yeah, it's just the same. Yeah, for court appointed.
So you don't get to charge?
I don't get to charge a rush. No. I mean, the county sets the rate, and that's what I get to charge.
What is a retained attorney? You said a retained attorney?
A retained attorney is like, you know, say the guy comes in and you know, especially like on our cases, a lot of people are indigent, so they can't afford to pay for an attorney. So they have to fill out this sheet, it gets notarized or whatever, and they have to swear that, you know, this is what they make, or, you know, so they get a court-appointed attorney. And under the statute of our cases, anytime that they have language in there which says termination, then they have to have an attorney. So whether they retain one or they get a court appointed.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then, you know, a retained attorney is when you go out and get your own.
Okay.
Court appointed is you just get the next attorney off the wheel. You know, we have, you know, 200 and something attorneys. Some of them are really, really good. Some of them are okay. They're good. And some of them are okay. You know what I mean? So, you know, but if you want somebody that's good, I mean, it's having to do with your rights, and, you know, somebody brought up some allegations that weren't true, and now you're fighting for your rights for your kids. Yeah, it's going to cost. Yeah. you know, and you know, they're talking here about rules regarding proper dress, arrival and departure times, working arrangements with other court reporters, outside work, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm kind of lucky. And, you know, the two judges that I've had, when I first started working for them, you know, I would always go in a tie, jacket, you know, in a suit or slacks, you know, whatever. And then, bless you, we got to where, you know, my judge said, you know, well, we're going to have dress down Friday. So you can wear, you know, khakis and a nice shirt or whatever. And then he's just like, you know what, I mean, kind of dress nicer than some of the attorneys that come in here. So, you know, I'm fine with it. And we just got to where it was always, but I always dress pretty nice. You know, always have khakis on, a nice pressed shirt, you know, whatever. But it's up to your judge. I mean, whatever he allows, you know, whatever. And, you know, we had one of our DAs who used to wear sandals. And she ended up going into the sister court, and that judge wasn't having it. He was not having it. And I'll tell you another thing too. I mean, these attorneys don't come with a jacket or a tie or whatever. He has a jacket and about 3 ties that he has, and I think that jacket is pink or like a brown corduroy, and he has like 3 ties that are ridiculous. So you don't want to forget your jacket or your tie in the same court that does the same cases as we do, just a different judge, and that's what he requires. Yeah.
Is that what you mean by sister court? When you say sister court, what?
Our sister court is the other court that hears the same cases that we do. We have 2 courts that hear the same cases. That's all we do. We hear those cases and that's it. And we just kind of call it our sister court, but they hear the same cases that we do. They have a whole staff also. They have a judge, court reporter, 2 bailiffs, a clerk, also just like we do. And we share middle space between. And we have a secure area back there where the kids can go, and you know, when they come for a visit or whatever, there's a secure area back there where they don't have to interact with the parents if they, you know, deny the access or whatever. So, and maybe they want to come speak to the judge, you know, hey, you know, I want to tell you what I want, you know, in this case or whatever, and the judge can go back there and speak to them in private. So if you've never been to my court, you know, and you have some time on a day during the week, come. It's a pretty cool place. Like any other professional, the official reporter must keep abreast of changes in technology. Therefore, the reporter should belong to a state or national organization that promotes the causes and efforts of the court reporting profession. Guys, this is really important, and you guys are you know, cutting edge here. You know, like I told you, I mean, when I got out of school, I took my state test on a typewriter. Some of you cats didn't even know what a typewriter was, you know. And so, I mean, I took it on a typewriter. You know, back then we used to print our stuff like on a dot matrix. You don't even know what that is? No? It's crazy. Dot matrix was, I mean, crazy printer or whatever. So, you know, you guys are cutting edge now. I mean, you guys have so many more advantages than we did. Now we have them now, but I mean, you know, this was stuff that we grew into. I mean, I'm eager to see where you guys are going to be when you get out and where reporting is going to be. I mean, it's actually, it's pretty neat now. So, you know, and that's what they're saying here. Always keep up with your organizations, you know, your you know, city, state, national organizations, just to keep up with, you know, changing technology and changing laws and statutes that they enact every year, you know, that they try to change stuff on either uniform format rules or stuff like that. So you always want to kind of keep abreast of stuff like that. An official reporter must be competent to report and transcribe at a speed of at least 225 words a minute on 5-minute testimony takes, 200 words per minute on jury charge, and 180 on literary material, with less than a 5% error rate. I mean, you guys know that. I mean, the pass rate here is what, 96%, which is good. You know, people say, oh man, well, you know, they don't require that on the state test or whatever. You know, to compensate for nerves, that's a good thing to have. You know, to be able to write a little bit more with a little bit more accuracy or whatever, it's only going to help you guys. You know, and like I said, stay positive. Always see it as a positive. You know, not like, oh man, they're just trying to keep me down. Keep me down. No. I mean, they're trying to make you better. And they don't want you going to take that state test 10 times. You know? We want to know that, you know, when you go take that state test, you're ready to go take that test. Okay, sorry about that, guys. There was somebody at the door, so. So we all know the qualifications and why it has to be there. I mean, you know, they expect pretty close to perfection, and that's what it should be. Okay. Cautions for the official reporter. The official reporter should not give advice to anyone concerning any matter in the court or that could end up in court. He or she should never purport to speak or act for the judge when judicial matters are involved. Unless specifically authorized, he or she should never exercise the court's discretion as in excusing jurors or setting hearings. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, guys. It's not your job. It's not your job to say, hey man, you guys can go for the day or whatever. No, that's not your job to let the jurors go for the day. That's a judge's job, and usually he brings them in and will admonish them, hey look, you're going for the day, don't discuss the case, don't discuss the case with anybody, don't watch the news. If you see something on the news that has something to do with this case, change the channel. You know, don't be deliberating about the case, calling the other jurors, hey man, what do you think? You know, where are we gonna go with this thing or whatever, so we don't, you know, you're not supposed to do any of that stuff. I mean, that's the judge's job. Everybody has their job, and as long as you do your job, then everything's going to be okay. And that's what some of the cautions are. An official reporter should never leave the impression with anyone that he or she could or would talk to the judge about the case, or that he or she knows what the judge is going to do. So, and you'll have it at times when attorneys, and I've had it too, when attorneys come up and say, hey man, you know, what do you think the judge is going to do on this case? I have no idea. I have a pretty good idea. You know, most of the time, and you sit with a judge long enough and you kind of know what they're going to do, but it's not your job to go up there and say, hey man, yeah, he's going to terminate their rights. That's not your job, guys. And attorneys are always going to push the limits. They're always going to push the limits and try to get, you know, information or whatever. And not that they're being, you know, bad or whatever, trying to get you in trouble. They just always want the edge and the advantage. Do what? Valerie?
What's the judge look? He's going to hear the case?
Yeah, that's his job. That's what he gets paid for. He didn't get paid for you to tell other people what you think he's going to do, you know? So that's just kind of what they're saying here. An official reporter should never allow a lawyer to dictate anything into the record or change anything concerning any record out of the judge's presence. The official reporter must be courteous and fair to the bar and others, but not show favoritism. And that's just it. You're an unbiased party that's there just to take the record, you know? And yeah, I mean, you're like anybody else. You're human. I mean, you know, there's some attorneys you get along with better than others, and that's just kind of the way it is. But it's not that you show favoritism towards them, you know, in the case, having to do with the case or whatever. And I have had attorneys that have come up and said, you know what, I want to put something on the record. You know, we took a break, but I want to put something on the record that, you know, one of the parties said outside, and I want this on the record or whatever. No. You wait till the judge comes in. If the judge tells me to take it down, then you do it. And I've had the judge tell me that. Hey, Dave, Mr. So-and-so is going to put something on the record. He has to go to another court, but he's going to put his intentions on the record. He's already told me what they are, and he's going to put them on the record real quick. We're still in recess, so, you know, go ahead and do it. And I've done it because the judge told me to. Not because the attorney told me to. The attorney's not the one that you work for. You know, and I've had, you know, other things where, you know, we get stuff from presiding. And presiding court is, if you've never been to court, presiding court is like the main hub of courts. So you go in, say you're getting divorced, they go and they file this case. Well, it's in the 225th District Court. That doesn't mean it's going to get heard in the 225th District Court. Not here in this county. Now in another county, in other counties, yeah, because I don't know of anybody else that has a presiding district like we do. So you get set for temporary orders. Yeah, it's set in the 225th, so we're going to get heard in the 225th, right? No. You go to a main court, and they call out every case. They say, okay, what are you here for? We're here for temporary orders. Well, how long do you think it's going to take? About 3 hours. Okay, have a seat. When a court comes open, we'll let you know. And you may go to the 166th District Court and have your matter heard by a judge. And then you come back on another hearing, and there you go to the same presiding court, and they say, you know what? Now you're going to go to the 73rd District Court, and he's going to hear it. And that's what they mean by presiding. You just go to whichever judge is open. So not one judge may hear the entire case, unless you have what's called a complex case. If you have what's called a complex case, which involves complex issues on, you know, maybe a multi-million-dollar case, then they may say, you know what, we need this judge making all the rulings. So they have to get, you know, the presiding judge to make that ruling and say, you know what, it is considered a complex case, and that one judge is going to hear all the hearings on this case and trial. But it has to be determined as a complex case. If not, then you just go to presiding court. Okay? Court officials should never discuss politics or religion publicly and should avoid being identified with controversies that might reflect on the judge. If the official reporter is also an attorney, legal practice may not be done in the court in which he or she serves as a reporter. That's kind of self-explanatory right there. I mean, you know, one thing that's very, you know, is a very heated topic is religion with people, you know. And people get very, how can I say it?
Polarized.
People believe in what they believe in, you know, and you know, some people believe that all people should believe that way. And I mean, this is why it's the United States, guys. You can believe whatever you want. I mean, you know, but you know, some people are passionate. Some people are very passionate